Hey BookTube, here's a January wrap-up.
I got my ticket for the long way round.
I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and I thought I would tell you about the audiobooks and other books that I read in January. I've done kind of mini reviews each week, wrapping up kind of my week, but I thought I would do a January wrap-up just to kind of recap everything I've read and just kind of total everything up kind of in a more concise way. So I logged 19 books in January, but I really only read 17. I DNF'd 2 books, and the first of those was Stars Across Time. That's by Ruby Lionsdrake, and it's narrated on audio by Tara Sands. It is adult sci-fi, time travel, and I thought it was going to be a whole lot better than it was, but about 60% through, I just thought, no, I'm done. So I DNF'd it, but I did give it 2 stars because I think it does have its audience. That audience just isn't me. And the other book I DNF'd was Identical by Ellen Hopkins. This is narrated on audio by Laura Flanagan, and it just wasn't my cup of tea. I got about 1 chapter in, and I have to say Laura Flanagan was very appropriate as a narrator for that kind of a story. She was wonderful, but it just wasn't for me, so I DNF'd that. 6 of the audiobooks that I read were rereads, and 3 of the books I read were novellas. 1 was a short story, 1 was a graphic novel, 2 were print books, and 2 were ebooks. Actually, there are more ebooks than that, but I'll explain that in a minute. So let me just start with the rereads. The first was Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This on audio is narrated by Olivia Taylor-Dudley, Lincoln Hopp, and Jonathan McLean. And it was a reread for me because I listened to it rather than read it. I read it the first time and then I listened to it. And completely different experience, but equally amazing, 5 stars. I reread the Irin Chronicles right here, the Scribe, the Singer, and the Secret. And those are all on audio. They're narrated by Zachary Weber. And I fell in love with the world and the characters, and I wanted to revisit that. So I did, and I fell in love all over again. And so 5-star series for me. Each of those books got 5 stars, and one of the novellas that I read was On a Clear Night, On a Clear Winter Night, which is kind of an epilogue to these 3 books. It kind of picks up the story and is a very warm, Christmassy kind of feel-good, warm, fuzzy kind of a book. And it's just a little story, a little snippet of kind of a continuation of the 2 main characters in that book. And it leaves you in a very good place with them. Speaking of Elizabeth Hunter, I picked up a short story by her called The Genius and the Muse. This is a standalone, and I read it as an ebook, and it kind of opened my eyes to the fact that every author has ups and downs, and this was not her best work, I didn't think. I don't know if she wrote it early on, but it's not as good as a lot of the other stuff by her that I've read. It was okay. It is a story about a young girl who is an art student, and she's doing her thesis on an older artist who graduated from her school. And there's a lot of mystery surrounding him and a relationship he had with a woman. So you have that story, and then you have this girl who's studying him and a relationship that she falls into. So it's kind of 2 parallel things going, and it was okay. I don't know, it really highlighted the Laguna Beach art community in California, but I don't know. I just didn't care really as much about the characters as I thought I should. I will say that Elizabeth Hunter is really good at taking characters who are physically very different and not what you'd expect in terms of romance and bringing them together. And sometimes it works, and sometimes their personalities are equally different, and so it doesn't. But I would say for most of the time, she doesn't have the, you know, the sweet little girl that's beautiful and thinks she's not, and then the guy that's a hunk and the bad guy. She doesn't do that, so I really like that. She tempers that really well. Then I picked up the Conquered Earth series by J. Barton Mitchell because I was committed that I was going to get that last book read. The problem with this series is that the first 2 books are on audio and the 3rd one isn't. And, you know, I've ranted on and on about how that annoys me to no end, and it still does. But I reread them so that I could read the third one and refresh my memory. So the first one is Midnight City, and it is narrated by Kirby Heyborne. The second one is The Severed Tower, again narrated by Kirby Heyborne, and then the third one, Valley of Fires, I read as a hardback because I have it. It's in the other room. And then I picked up an ebook, which is a prequel. It's .5 in the series, and it's called Winter Bay, and it focuses on one of the main characters, and it kind of just gives us a little backstory about why she is the way she is. So completed that series, and I gave it all, well, I gave the first 2 books 5 stars, and the third book I gave 4 stars because the characters all have their own arcs, and so they all went 3 different directions, and they kind of did the thing they had to do, and then they came back together for the overall plot conclusion, which was a fantastic conclusion. But I don't know, I didn't enjoy it as much. I'm talking about a completely emotional reaction here, so the book is really good, so don't base anything on that. But I don't know, I wish they had done what they did together, but they didn't, and it was fine, and it was an incredible conclusion, so I gave that one 4 stars, the other 2 5, and the novella I also gave 4 stars because it was good, but it wasn't fantastic. So great series. I would give it an overall 5-star rating for the whole series. Then I picked up the book of novellas by Alexandra Bracken that go along with her Darkest Mind series. It's called Through the Dark. And because I had read the first and second novella, I didn't read those. I read the third one, which is kind of an epilogue to the last book, which is called In the Afterlight. And I really loved it. I thought it was perfect. It wrapped everything up perfectly. And it was really good because you got to see the 4 main characters through the eyes of someone who was looking at them rather than through Ruby's eyes. Ruby is the main character, and she's one of those 4. So we got to see kind of an objective view of these characters. So it was really kind of good. I really liked it, and I gave that one 5 stars. That's another 5-star series, by the way, and I will be rereading that this month. The 4th book in the Pillars of Reality series came out in January. That is the Pirates of Pacta Servanda. Who doesn't love pirates? Well, I just love this series. I've gone on and on about it. It's by Jack Campbell, and it is narrated on audio by MacLeod Andrews. It is also written specifically for audio and produced by Audible.com. And this was fantastic. It's just a continuation of the series, and I loved it. 4 stars from me. I also read Bone Gap. This was narrated on audio by Dan Bittner, and it is written by Laura Ruby. This was a confusing book for me. I don't know if I'm stupid or what, but it wasn't that it was hard to follow. It was just that it was very disconnected. And overall, it was really well written, great story, and I did give it 4 stars. But I gotta say, man, I gotta go back and read that one again because I really want to appreciate it even more than I already did. And Dan Bittner was amazing. Yeah. I read 2 standalones. One was The Gargoyle by Andrew Davidson, and that was a really interesting book. It was an ebook. It's not available on audio, and I read it at the recommendation of Vibke at One Book One Review. She was right. It is really good, and I think it's a book that's a very polarizing book. You either love it or you hate it. I did love it. I thought it had a lot of profound things to say about life, just life. It is the story of a man who makes his fortune in pornography and then gets into a horrible auto accident and is burned very badly. And so I have to say I did skip the parts where he goes into great detail about what it's like to be on fire and what it's like to have your burns debrided. Oh, I just know. I skipped those parts. But he meets a woman and she tells him some stories. So a lot of the book is these stories being told. There are a lot of parallels to Dante's Inferno, and even at one point there is an allegorical kind of thing that happens with direct correlation to Dante's Inferno. It's really good. It's really good. It's really weird, but it's really good, and I gave it 4 stars. And lastly, I read Written in the Stars. This is by Aiesha Saeed, and it is a YA novel about a girl who is from a Pakistani family. She grows up as an American in Florida and is taken back to Pakistan to be married off in the custom of her parents and their culture and how she deals with that. Really important book, I think. It's an important book that belongs in high school libraries, and it should be read by lots of people just to kind of create awareness. It is a fictional story, and the author makes that clear, but she also makes it clear that this happens all the time. And so I think she wrote it to probably raise some awareness. And it's a great book. I think it's not as fabulous as it could be because it really is all about the message. And I gave it 3 stars, but I will say that this is a debut novel from this author, and I think she has a lot of good things to say, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else she writes. So that was my January. If you've read any of those books, you know I want to talk to you about them. I always welcome your thoughts, and I love to get these conversations going in comments with you about what you're reading or what you thought about this and that kind of thing. So let me know. And that's it for now for me. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.
When I'm gone, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my walk. You're gonna miss me by my talk. Oh, you're gonna miss me